What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the FF Ballbusters podcast. Today is Sunday, June 4th. Sorry about that, slight mess ups. But it's okay because today is more of a casual episode. My name is Will. Joining me is my co-host Eric. Eric, how you feeling today, dog?
I'm feeling great this morning. I'm ready to get into a little bit of new content, some stuff that we haven't done before. I think this should be fun.
Hell yeah. So we really just want this to be more of a free-flowing thing where we can just have discussions, stuff like that. We used to do, if you check our earlier content, we used to do sort of recaps and stuff of that for the week and NFL news, stuff like that. So we want to kind of keep it, but just take away some of the structure to it, have a little bit more fun, and just talk about some just different topics going on in the league, stuff you guys need to know, stuff that maybe you don't know context behind, so we can kind of give some context behind it. Just stuff that's not really going to make it into our videos is going to end up here. So we're planning on having some fun, maybe having a guest or two every once in a while. If you're interested in being on it, let us know. We might be able to have you on here as well. So, Eric, we can go ahead and get started because I know you had some topics you wanted to discuss. I know we were discussing some trade implications, some players moving around possibly, a little bit of speculation.
Yeah, so we got a couple vets that might be on the move here pretty soon. DeAndre Hopkins got released by the Cardinals, and so he's looking for a new home. And Dalvin Cook is also looking like he's on the way out in Minnesota. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your take on potential landing spots for those guys and the fantasy implications that could come from it.
So the crazy thing with like DeAndre Hopkins, the landing spot could be anywhere just because he got released. But according to himself, he's saying he wants to play for a team with a good quarterback and all that. But
Yeah.
then I see like a lot of things linking him back to Houston as well. So I don't really know how to feel about where D Hop's gonna land. I don't know if his criteria even really matters. Because I can
How?
understand wanting to link to a good quarterback, but then saying you want to
Yeah.
go to Houston doesn't make a whole lot of sense because like CJ Stroud's gonna be decent, but we don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, here I'm gonna search it up on Twitter because I don't think I've seen as much of the Houston rumblings as you're talking about. But what have you seen in that regard?
I've seen some of him being linked and saying he was interested in going to Houston, but that he's visiting teams this week. You know, so he's still got to
Okay.
talk to teams and visit. But I've seen some DeAndre Hopkins to Houston links.
The Score puts out DeAndre Hopkins is interested in returning to the Houston Texans. Multiple sources have confirmed to me the free agent wide receiver and former franchise star DeAndre Hopkins visited while in Houston the past week. Yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't see as much of this, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's
I
just due diligence before he goes to talk to every other team, but it's just
Yeah.
interesting to see at least a little bit.
I'd be really surprised with a guy of his talent and his age and what he's been through in the league. I'd be shocked if he doesn't go to a contender. And Houston, even with DeAndre Hopkins, is nowhere close to a contender. So that'd be kind of crazy to me, but I guess it's not totally out of the question. Here's another one: DeAndre Hopkins heavily considering signing with the Texans. His family lives in Houston, and he's impressed with CJ Stroud, so he has the family ties there. That makes some sense.
Mm-hmm. Plus, they can
Um,
probably pay him more money than a lot of these other big teams as well.
That's a good point. That's a good point. One that I've seen picking up steam recently is him reuniting with Deshaun Watson and going to Cleveland.
Whoa,
What do you think about that one?
that would be huge. That would shake some things up in fantasy. In terms of Amari Cooper, obviously he's going to still do kind of what he does, but it's going to take away from his volume quite a bit.
And Elijah Moore as well.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it necessarily gets rid of either of their roles. Like Elijah Moore would still be that slot guy.
Mm-hmm.
Amari's still gonna have his spot. I guess maybe he wouldn't be the X, he might be the Z now if DeAndre Hopkins comes in. But either way, they're the two guys on the outside. But like you said, it's just you bring in probably the better receiver of the three. I guess you could debate maybe at this point in his career who's better between him and Amari, but I feel like it's still probably D Hop.
I think it's still D Hop
Um,
by a little bit.
So yeah, it would definitely more mouths to feed, less condensed target funnel there, and it certainly gets rid of, DPJ,
DPJ.
Donovan Peoples-Jones, Cedric Tillman, anybody that was hoping that those guys would break out on the outside.
Oh yeah, they're definitely not going to get that burn this year if that happens.
Yeah.
They're going to have to wait a couple years.
Yeah, and then the two that people are probably waiting for us to mention that have been considered the front runners here for a week or more would be the Chiefs and the Bills. What do you so like? For me, if he goes to the Chiefs, I don't know that I like that for him fantasy wise.
Yeah, if he goes to the Chiefs, in terms of like what it changes for everyone else there, it doesn't really move anything for me in terms of fantasy because they spread out the ball so much. Like unless you're Travis Kelce, who knows how many targets you're really gonna get any given game. But DeAndre Hopkins is good enough to separate himself. I don't think we've had like besides Tyreek Hill, we haven't
Right.
really had like an elite wide receiver in this offense. So like
That's
and Tyreek Hill was
Yeah.
hyper targeted when he was on that offense and he was elite.
right, and I was gonna bring that up too. I think that's a good point. Like, since Tyreek Hill left, and it's only been what 2 years, 2 seasons.
Yeah, this is season number 2 right here. This is season number 2. Last year was
So it's
Tyreek's
only-
first year with the Dolphins.
Oh, okay, I'm tripping. All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess the idea that like it's a super spread out target share. He's not funneling to anybody but Kelsey. We've only had one season to see that because with Tyreek there was tons of targets, and yeah, D Hop is far more talented than anybody else they have on the roster. Obviously, similar idea to what we talked about in Cleveland. It pushes down a lot of the guys that people are hoping to break out, whether it be Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney.
Rashee Rice.
Your boy Rashee Rice. Yeah. So that would hurt them, but I don't know. Do you think DeAndre Hopkins is still good enough at this point in his career to where that's like it should be considered a good landing spot?
I think he's still good enough because even when he played last year, when he was on the field, it was like, yeah, he's doing pretty good stuff. He's doing some numbers, but
Yeah,
he is getting older. It's another step. We don't exactly know how he's going to step back this year. He's had some injury issues as of late. But I guess you're asking more so if he gets there, do we think him and Patrick Mahomes are going to gel and sort of be sort of a dynamic duo like him and Tyreek were?
Well, maybe not like him and Tyreek because they're just such different receivers.
Very, yeah.
But yeah, when I brought it up, the first thing I said is I don't know that would be a good thing for him in fantasy. And now that I'm thinking more about it, maybe I'm wrong about that.
I don't know, because in terms of roles, it would almost be like them having like 2 Kelseys.
Yeah, very much 2 possession guys.
Yeah. So it might end up hurting both of them, maybe even hurting Kelce a little bit. I don't know. I don't see anything messing up that chemistry. You know what I'm saying?
No, Kelsey would obviously still be the one, or the first look in that offense. I mean, with how little they have there, like you can make the argument for all those guys that are kind of up and coming and could potentially turn into number 1s, number 2s, whatever. But like 2 guys, like that's not too much competition. Even if they're filling a similar role, like that.
I mean,
they can make that work.
It's like we talked about last year and going into this year with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Those are 2 guys that fill very similar roles, both elite in their offenses because they were able to draw it up for him. And I believe Andy Reid could make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If there's anybody that can, it's him.
Yeah.
Here, let me pull up DeAndre Hopkins' stats because you're right. When he was healthy last year, he was very effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he came back in week 7 and immediately 14 targets, 10 receptions, over 100 yards, 15.3 fantasy points. Followed that up the next week, 13 targets, 12 receptions, 159 yards and a touchdown, 28 fantasy points. And then, just no boom games after that, but fairly consistent, 11.6, 14.8, 13.6, 16.7.
I was about to say, and keep in mind, you got a Kyler Murray ACL injury to throw in there as well.
Yep.
So he wasn't even with them the whole season.
And that's where he tailed off at the back end. It was like 9.4, 9.5, and less than 1 point. That's right. This was the Tampa Bay game where they were just awful. I think that was like Chris Straveller or whatever came in.
Yeah.
He got 10 targets and 1 reception.
Yeah, I bet you 9 of those targets. I bet you 10 of those targets were uncatchable.
But he still got one of them.
Yeah, he still got one.
Facts. All right. So we don't mind. Let's think about it this way.
If you want any of the young guys to do well, you absolutely do mind DeAndre Hopkins landing on any team that he goes to.
Yes.
But
what do you think would for him specifically, not for the implications of the rest of the team, but just for him as a fantasy asset? What do you think his best landing spot would be? Like, We're talking Bills, Chiefs, Browns, Texans, Jets, maybe. Like, who else is in the conversation? Ravens, potentially. I feel like that's probably about it.
Yeah, because it was anywhere. His criteria was anywhere with a good quarterback. So we got to start thinking about those teams. He's not going to the Bengals. They already got too many people over there, really.
Yep.
The Bills would be a good landing spot because Gabe Davis, he's Gabe Davis.
He's Gabe Davis.
And he's not DeAndre Hopkins. And having him and
No.
Stephon Diggs could open up the field a lot. Again, that's two guys kind of not really similar roles, really, from Diggs and D-Hop. Are they? Yeah, kind of, sort of. I feel like Diggs has been made to sort of fit that possession role because he is as good as he is, but I don't know if that's his natural playing style. Because even growing up, like, he was always sort of like a big play sort of guy, and he's sort of injury prone. He hasn't been as much in the league. He's been more durable in the NFL than he has been in the rest of his career, which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure where I would slot him in. He's incredibly well-rounded. But yeah, I think he can be more of that deep threat. He's still got the speed where I think DeAndre Hopkins kind of lacks it a little bit. DeAndre could be more of the security blanket, and Diggs could work a little bit further down the field.
I think
it would be huge for that offense.
I think
for sure.
Diggs would be pissed off, though. Me personally.
You think? I feel like yeah, he's got a little bit of diva in him, but he's just trying to win football games. DeAndre Hopkins will help him do that.
I feel like he was pissed off last year when they lost that game, and he didn't feel like he was getting the ball enough. And he got the ball a lot.
But do you think he'll complain? Like, I can understand when you're Stephon Diggs and you're losing and you're not getting the ball because Gabe Davis or Khalil Shakir are getting targets. But if DeAndre Hopkins is getting targets, how mad can you really be?
Yeah, you're not really saying nothing because D-Hop's like, yo, what the fuck? What'd you say?
Yeah. What's up?
What's up?
What
You want to talk? We can talk about this. Nah, I like that. I think that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, what's your favorite landing spot for him personally?
Me personally, I probably think it would be the Bills. There's nothing else. Like, the Chiefs would be cool. I don't really care. Nothing gets me excited about anybody landing on the Chiefs because we know they can win with no matter who's on their team. So them adding other people, it's like, all right, we
That's
get
just
it.
Unfair, bro.
Yeah, we get it. Oh my
You're
God,
cheating.
you're so good. Oh my God. So with our luck, he's gonna land somewhere like the Eagles because they somehow get everybody. I don't understand.
That'd be so shitty.
Bro.
That would be the worst.
As a Commanders fan, watching Eagles news pisses me off so much.
Oh, dude, another thing that we can talk about in this episode, we can get to it later, but the recent Eagles news that, can you hear that train?
No, there's a train?
Yeah, there's a big train going by, tooting its horn. It's really loud for me, but I guess not for you guys.
I think I slightly heard it just now. Slightly.
Oh, okay.
It's not loud, though.
But yeah, they talked about how last offseason, the Eagles had a deal in place for Russell Wilson. Like, it was set, locked, and loaded, but Russell Wilson said, no, I don't want to go to the Eagles. Can you imagine?
That would have been.
Can you fucking imagine?
That'd have been nuts. So does that mean Jalen Hurts ends up in Seattle in that trade?
Probably.
Yeah.
That would have been league altering. That would have been ridiculous. They went to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is a superstar. They gave him like a max type contract.
Yeah, he was an MVP runner-up last year.
Yes.
That would have been nuts. I kind of wish that would have happened because then, things would have been better for the Commanders. Russ would have gone over there and blown some shit up.
NFC East. Yeah. Well, so the other thing is the Commanders were also in the Russell Wilson sweepstakes, but he said he didn't want to go there either.
I wouldn't either. I don't
makes
blame
sense.
him.
I wonder if Dan Snyder, if he had left an offseason earlier, if he would have considered, but probably still no.
I have to say, we have no idea what that franchise is going to look like. I'm not even really excited about the new owner, to be honest with you.
It's tough to get excited when we've been wallowing in sadness for 25 years.
It's just, I look at the other teams that he owns, and it's tough for me to get excited. Like the 76ers, sorry 76ers fans, but
I mean,
the process failed, bro. The process failed. I don't care. I don't care what nobody says. You got Joel Embiid out of it. That's cool.
Coming from the Commanders, a franchise who's been to the playoffs, twice in our lifetime?
Yeah, about right. That about right.
I'll take the 76ers. Like, give me that.
I don't know if I'd even want that, man. That shit's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking to watch because Joel Embiid's so good. I'm sorry, guys. This isn't a basketball podcast. This is just us spitballing right now. But
this
is
I mean, that's the whole
shit.
point.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point
I'm
of this
sorry.
episode. That's what we're doing. We're having fun, guys. If you don't like it,
That is true. There's a lot of stuff to click,
Yeah,
man.
I don't know.
I'd appreciate if you stayed here. Please. All right. So,
I guess we can get back on topic.
but what were we talking about? Are we back to D-Hop and then we'll get to the Russell Wilson stuff? Or are we talking about Russell Wilson now?
Let's talk about Dalvin first, just because that's in the same
vein.
realm as D-Hop. So, well, let's finish off the D-Hop. You said the Bills. I think I agree with you. That would probably be his best fantasy landing spot. Chiefs would be fine. The Browns would also be fine. I feel like they're not going to be nearly as high pass volume as the Bills or the Chiefs. And also, I just don't know what we're going to get out of Deshaun Watson yet. Like, I would expect it to be a lot better than what we saw last season, but, I want to see it. Houston, obviously, he would be the clear, undisputed number one, and they're probably going to be trailing in a lot of games. So, honestly, that might not be bad for fantasy.
That's true.
Kind of an underrated fantasy landing spot, maybe.
I mean, it's if he lands in Houston, he's pretty much the only real wide receiver there. No offense to anyone who's there, like Nico Collins, stuff like that, but he is automatically the alpha if he steps into that offense. There's no debate there whatsoever.
Yeah. But I think the Bills is probably the best landing spot for him fantasy-wise.
It's all up to what D'Amico can say, man. Can D'Amico convince him?
True. All right, let's get to Dalvin. What are your thoughts on his situation?
Bro, I feel like this one kind of popped up out of nowhere this offseason, for sure. But it makes sense because the money's hitting and they don't want to spend all that money. The Vikings are in a weird spot where it feels like they're rebuilding, but they're not. I guess they're just kind of retooling.
They're definitely not. Yeah. It's weird. It is weird. You're right. They're 100% competing. Like, they
were the 2 seed last year.
Yeah. And it's not like they've gotten worse. Like, if anything, they've gotten a little bit better. It's just now Dalvin might be on the way out. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting scenario here.
I was thinking about it. I was already thinking about this last night when you texted me this was going to be one of the things. And I was wondering where he would end up at because it's looking like he's going to get either released or traded, right? That's how it's looking like.
Yep.
I'm not sure who's trading for him because he's got as much money as he does on the books. And I don't know how much time is left on his contract, maybe 2 years. I think it's an out after this year.
I can look it up, but that sounds right to me.
But in terms of landing spots, I don't know. I've heard a lot of Dolphins talk, which would kind of scare me because I like Devin Achane a lot. I have Devin Achane stocks. Yeah. But also, I don't know how long it would affect Devin Achane because, as we said, as Eric's looking up now, we don't know what Dalvin Cook's contract, what the extension looks like for it, anything like that.
Yeah, so he's currently 28. He's signed through... See, is that a void year or is that a real year? These contracts get kind of crazy.
They do get weird.
No, they're still base salary. So technically, he's still signed through 2025. But there's a potential out this offseason where they eat significantly less dead cap than they would for any of the remaining seasons.
Okay.
So now would be the time to do it if they wanted to get out of it.
So where do you personally see him landing at?
I mean, I'm looking at Twitter right now. I'm trying to see if there's any other front runners because the Dolphins have been the steady drumbeat that I've been hearing ever since these rumors started coming out that he could be leaving. And that seemed a lot more likely prior to the draft, like you said, before they took Devin Achane. I could still see it now. But, like, obviously, as somebody who likes Devin Achane, that would upset me. But even, like, for Dalvin Cook himself, like, yeah, that's a fantastic offense. And I think him being there, he would be super efficient. But, like, he's not going to get nearly the volume that he would have gotten in Minnesota if he goes to Miami. Which I guess isn't a bad thing, but like you're not going to get the high-end RB1 type upside in Miami, I don't think.
You know where I could kind of see him landing at, low-key?
Where?
Dallas.
Oh.
I feel like it's a Dallas move.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a fair amount of Derrick Henry to Dallas.
Mm. But if
I
they could
think
get
that
Dalvin
also
Cook,
makes a lot
if
of
he gets
sense.
released or anything like that, I feel like they would
Yeah, if they
definitely
don't
go
have to
for
trade
that.
anything, yeah,
Zeke's out
that
the
would suck
door.
for Tony Pollard.
Oh yeah, Tony Pollard fans, you guys would be reeling from that, but you should still be okay. Tony Pollard should still get burned in that offense for sure.
It's
But
not like he was gonna be a workhorse anyway. He's probably gonna get like the what he got at the back end of last season. It would probably still be a similar workload to that, with Dalvin Cook kind of
Mhm.
interspersed, like a 50-50. And he's shown that he can be great for fantasy in that type of split.
yeah, I think so. Like he'll still do really well, and then having Dalvin, they'd have that reliable running back they like to have at all times.
Yeah.
Because it ain't Tony Pollard and it's not Deuce Vaughn or Malik Davis. It's the other guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, is it fair to call Dalvin Cook a reliable running back though?
No. But if you got Tony
I see what
Pollard,
you're saying.
not too upset about him going down.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm scrolling through Twitter, and it seems like all of the signs are pointing towards Miami if he's on the move.
Which I could see Mike McDaniel obviously going for it. Did you see the news about Mike McDaniel on draft night?
Maybe? What are you referring to?
Well, about him and wanting Devin A-Chain and like how much he wanted to get Devin A-Chain.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Like apparently I saw a tweet. I'm gonna see if I can find it. But they were talking about Mike McDaniel was saying during draft night that he wanted to draft A-Chain in the second round. And that the front office had to talk to him and be like, hey, look, calm down. We can get him in the third. We're going to get him. But we got to go for the value while we can get it in this round.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good to hear. All right, fair enough.
Hold on.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of other potential landing spots. You brought up a good one with the Cowboys.
I could even
Are there
kind of see
any-
the Bills. Because like I know they brought in Damian Harris, but also it's really easy to also cut that guy if you can get a Dalvin Cook. Or move him back in the rotation because not paying him that much. James Cook also on a
Yeah.
rookie deal too. The Cook brothers?
Yep. The Cook brothers. That's a fair point. And yeah, obviously they're definitely in win now mode, so they just want to bring in the most talented guys to help the team win. I could see that. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's inevitable at this point that he's going to be leaving Minnesota. It does seem like it, but it seems like anywhere he goes, it's going to be worse for him in fantasy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think anywhere is going to be as good as Minnesota because Minnesota literally they just have him on the field at all times. They did start to dial him back a little bit last year and started to implement Alexander Madison a little bit more. But
Yeah, who they've been hyping up quite a bit this offseason.
yeah, I mean he's good. He's not bad at all. There's times where he
Yeah.
stepped in for Dalvin and it's been like it's like Dalvin's still here. Or there's times he stepped into Dalvin and you're like, damn, I wish I had Dalvin this week. But
There's been some disappearing acts for sure.
But Dalvin has also had his disappearing acts as of late as well. He hasn't been consistent every single week like he used to be.
No, that's true. That is true. All right. What did we have next? We talked about Russ already. We had the 2 trade rumors.
Oh, there was the thing I added last night. That little, what was it? God damn it. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yes. So I did see this on Twitter, but re-enlighten me because I'm forgetting.
So it has to do with him and passing his physical for his foot. Because he got a foot
That's
injury.
right.
And he hasn't passed the
Yeah.
physical yet. And if he doesn't, they can just cut him with no cap hit.
Is that real? Is this real?
I don't know. I thought it was weird when they posted it, to be honest with you.
Jimmy Garoppolo failed his physical and his contract was dramatically reworked because of it. Jimmy G's signing bonus was pushed to base salary. If the foot issue lingers, the Raiders could release him with no penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So the funny thing is, this came out and immediately everybody and their mom was like, oh, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's coming back. He's going to be the quarterback for the Raiders. No, bro. I'm not going to pretend like I've known this the whole time, but I looked it up as soon as this rumor started going around. You literally can't do that. Like, you can't be a part owner of a team and play for them. That's written into the NFL rules. You cannot do that.
That's right. He is a partial owner, isn't he? He just bought a piece of it.
just bought a piece of the Raiders franchise, so he cannot do that. And he's also come out and said, "No, I'm not doing that."
Also, I just wouldn't want this Tom Brady on my team anymore, man. He's a broken man. I thought that the divorce would help reignite something, but it didn't.
That's funny.
I love the tweet where he was like taking pictures trying to get his wife back, and she just tweeted like or responded saying, "I hope he has a good life. I hope he finds everything he needs." And I was like, "Oh shit, she's done.
It's over."
Like imagine giving up your family to go 7-9.
When you put it like that,
It's kind of crazy.
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
He still hang
Who
out with
knows,
his kids
man?
though. Still kiss them on the lips, so it's cool.
He loves doing that. My boy
Respect.
Ari Mirov put on here. Yes, the Raiders' deal with Jimmy Garoppolo includes an injury waiver. It was put in there to protect the team in case something goes completely wrong with his left foot. There's not much to talk about yet. I get it, but for now, everybody needs to calm down. I think that's probably the right perspective.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, tell that to Jimmy Garoppolo, whose contract was reworked and his signing bonus was taken back.
Yeah. I mean, where the fuck do the Raiders go if they have to let go of Jimmy Garoppolo? Like, their best option is to just keep him on the team until his foot gets healthy. Because who else is out there right now?
Yeah,
Teddy Bridgewater.
Their best option is to release him and then sign him to a smaller contract and bring him back. I don't see
man.
who else or what else they got, to be honest with you.
Yeah, let me check the free agent pool, but I think I'm pretty sure Teddy Bridgewater is the only like somewhat notable quarterback left available. NFL QB free agents 2023. Let's see. Derek Carr's not a free agent. What is this? Oh, these are free agent signings. Come on now, bro. That's not what I'm looking for. Current free agents. NFL quarterback free agents. This is proving a little bit more difficult to find than I initially expected.
Are you just looking at remaining like quarterback free agents?
Oh, here we go. Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan,
Oh, shit.
Teddy Bridgewater,
Oh,
Joe Flacco, Nick Foles, Chase Daniel, Bryce Perkins, EJ Perry, and Jake Luton. What a fantastic group of names.
Holy shit. The best name legitimately is Carson Wentz. Yeah.
Barf. Holy sheesh.
I don't
dude.
even think
He's awful.
I don't even think barf is even the word, bro. That guy's I don't know. He's ass. Have we
He's.
Let's be honest. Let's talk about it for a second. North Dakota State quarterbacks, have they ever worked out?
I mean, small sample size. Okay, it's been what, 2?
I think there's been 3.
Who's the third?
Some backup in the league that doesn't play. I know there's a third one out there because he played right before Trey Lance, but right after Carson Wentz, I'm pretty sure.
Dakota State QBs. Easton Stick.
Yeah, Easton Stick. I only know who he is because I play Weddle every day at work. I got him wrong because I didn't know he existed. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Oh, he went to North Dakota State. I think that's the 3.
I mean, there's actually. Are these? No, these aren't all quarterbacks. Yeah, you might be right about that.
And Easton Stick, most wins for a starting quarterback in Division I FCS.
Impressive.
I guess that means something to somebody.
Nah, bro. So what are you really getting at with this? You're saying that we shouldn't trust NDSU quarterbacks?
I'm saying they don't have the best track record.
I'm saying Carson Wentz was playing like an MVP, tore his ACL, and then turned to dust.
Hey, man.
And the jury's still out on Trey Lance. I still believe.
Hey, man, we've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick have some good games. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying that the ACL injury is the end of a quarterback's career. It clearly isn't. There's plenty that have done it, but I don't know. Carson Wentz, maybe I shouldn't be calling a man out like this, but like the mental fortitude was never there with that
Oh
guy.
yeah, I knew it was bad when his team was winning and Nick Foles was there and he was just complaining the whole time. Or when they got
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, he's like, "Why'd you guys draft another cornerback?" Oh.
I just don't think he's like a leader of men. That's not really his thing.
No, I agree. I think he just likes to go out there and play football. And when all the pressure's on him and everybody's looking at him, he hates it. I think he hates it. He doesn't like any of the scrutiny, none of that. He just wants all the positive
Yeah.
stuff that comes with being a quarterback.
Yeah. But anyway, NDSU quarterbacks.
So I mean, I'm rooting for Trey Lance. You know, I'm rooting for him. I'm just saying he's gonna be 1 out of 3, if maybe 1.5.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put Easton Stick in this bucket. Nobody expected anything out of him.
That is true. That is true. That's fair. And then I think something else we had on here, at least I put on here, was Brees and Javonte, how they're coming along in their recoveries. Brees Hall looking like he should be ready by week 1 even to play so far.
They surprisingly, and so off-season talk, like you wanna, what am I trying to say? Stoke the fire, put a damper on it. Don't believe everything you hear. A lot of times, I think this is a good rule of thumb. Like if you hear negative news in the off-season, listen to it, because the off-season is all about positivity. It's all about this guy's in the best shape of his life. He's looking great. He's ahead of schedule in his recovery. This is the best I've ever seen him. All that is the kind of talk that we get in the off-season. And that's what you should expect. So if you hear that, don't change much. If you hear negative things, that's when you should adjust. But in these cases with Javonte and Brees, we've gotten like legitimate data. Like we heard Brees Hall is running at 22 miles an hour. We've seen video of both of them doing cutting drills, so they're moving laterally. I defer to like the actual doctors, the physical whatever doctors that are out here on Twitter that have been kind of updating us on the situation and talking about the exact recovery timetable where these guys should be. For the most part, I've seen that they're on schedule. But based on when they had their injuries, if they continue to be on schedule, they could both be on pace to be back by week 1.
Yeah, which is awesome to see. It's like I saw somebody putting up film about Javonte, and they were talking about his sort of return back and comparing it to J.K. Dobbins at this point. And they were like, yeah, he's out there making cuts and stuff that J.K. Dobbins could not make at this point in his recovery. So he is further along than J.K. is. I know that's the injury that people link him to the most because of how much damage he had around his knee. But it's looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. And then, like you said, with all the positivity and stuff, I think something that we as a community, as fantasy football community, kind of forget, these players are reading these tweets as well. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the off season, they've got all the time in the world. So with Eric saying they're pumping stuff up, being optimistic, you kind of have to also believe that's for the players themselves too, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe not intentionally, not a lot, but it's for them to see as well because they know they're going to see it. So if they're out there saying, I mean, he's doing okay, I guess, maybe, I don't know, we'll give it another week. The players gonna be like, I mean, I guess I'm doing all right. I don't know. The trainers were telling me I was doing good, but whoever's talking to the media doesn't. So I guess it's maybe sort of trying to keep consistent with what the players are hearing versus what we're hearing as well in the off season at least. During the regular season, they don't give a shit because the news is the news, unless you're Pete Carroll. But
unless you're Pete Carroll, positivity Pete.
Positive Pete.
Yeah, so I think this is actually just an interesting general discussion to get into, like injury optimism, because this is something that we've been talking about for years and years, and something that Nick over at BDGE has been preaching for half a decade, maybe more than that, that people in the fantasy community are too optimistic about injuries. But I think in recent years, that's kind of switched. Like people have gone from too optimistic to kind of sharp and with it to too pessimistic.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Or maybe that's just me being like too deep in the Twitter sphere where, you know, I'm seeing all of these like guys that are super deep in the weeds as far as being in the fantasy community compared to just like the general population. So I don't know where to go with this necessarily, depending on our target audience. But I mean, if you're listening to a fantasy podcast at this point in the year, you're probably pretty into this shit.
Yeah.
So I have a tweet here by Jeff Mueller, one of the Twitter doctors that I like to follow. He talks about there are glimpses of positive outcomes in year one post ACL for elite running backs in their prime. He put up Edgerrin James. He had 2 4-week spans post ACL of about 20 fantasy points per game. He was hampered by a partially torn hamstring also at the same time. And so the Colts probably shouldn't have given him over 30 touches a game in year one. So that led to him breaking down. But he showed that he had the elite upside still in year one off the ACL. Adrian Peterson, one of the rare cases where he actually increased his pre to post ACL scoring by almost 20%. Saquon Barkley, and I think that this is a really good point that people forget about Saquon Barkley and his recovery from his ACL tear. Although it was a really small sample, in weeks 3 and 4, so he tore his ACL, came back the following season, had a slow start week 1 and 2, but then in weeks 3 and 4, he scored 21.4 points and 29.6 points before he had that super fluky
ankle injury, right?
High-grade ankle sprain. And that impacted the entire rest of his season. And people just kind of attribute that to the ACL recovery, even though it had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think at the most with Saquon and him re-injuring himself, maybe it's a little bit of compensation, like overcompensation that led him to hurt that other ankle. That's a possibility. But like you said, not strictly because of the knee. You know? Because it was opposite leg sprain, wasn't it?
It was the opposite leg. But like, you've seen the video of it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It wasn't because of him making any moves or him cutting or anything like that. It's because he got hit.
Yeah. Well, a guy like, it was after the play ended and he was heading back to the huddle, and like a defender from the other team ended up like sticking his leg under Saquon's foot, and it just like twisted his ankle. It was a freak injury for sure.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But yeah, and then so he goes on in this same tweet to talk about J.K. Dobbins. He said that's not your typical ACL because he tore his ACL, LCL, PCL, meniscus, and hamstring. It was such a serious injury that it required a second surgery to remove scar tissue and increase his knee flexibility. So obviously that led to a lot of different complications. And even he got back to productivity just much later in the season. And so then he says Breece Hall fits the mold of being in that 90th percentile of athleticism metrics with the above 4 running backs. He's had 0 setbacks, 0 scarring concerns, and by all accounts has been ahead of schedule, seen with early jogging, seen with sprinting in linear and nonlinear movements. So he just keeps going through all of these positive signs for Breece Hall, returning to productivity in year one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's like you said. I think that as a community, just as a fantasy community, we got to kind of keep moving with the times and just keep moving with what's innovating and whatnot, because like you said, injuries aren't what they used to be. In terms of these career-ending injuries, an ACL tear is not what it used to be. It used to be, oh shit, he tore his ACL. He's old Yeller. Let's take him to the back and get him out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But nowadays, it's like, yeah, you can get an ACL injury and you could be back in months, even not even a whole year.
Yeah.
But if you want people to come back and be good, you usually have to wait a little bit longer. But now we're seeing these guys come back and just immediately produce. Like we saw, even like Cooper Kupp, he tore his ACL, came back the next year, was amazing. So it's just, I guess it's based on the player. Keep an eye on how they're coming back, how they're recovering. But this is all, like you said, it's all good news coming from Breece Hall. It's all good news coming from Javonte. And there's proof behind it. It's not just them saying, oh, yeah, they're progressing pretty well, and we're hoping they'll be back week 1. They're saying they're progressing really well, and it's looking like they're going to be back week 1. Yeah,
and like you said, like they're showing us data. They're showing us video and data of these guys doing it in their recovery. And context is key with all of these guys. Specifically for Breece and Javonte, they're both young and both with high athleticism metrics. Those are 2 really important factors to look at when considering whether or not these guys can come back and produce at a high level immediately off of an injury like this. When you get into some of the older veteran guys who might not be in that tier of athleticism, that's when I start to worry. Like if what's a good example? Like, I don't know.
McCaffrey were to tear his ACL, or
that's not a bad one.
Trying to think of older running backs.
I don't know. Just like if Alvin Kamara tore his ACL, like obviously he's a beast, but at his age,
it's gonna be a tougher recovery.
Yeah, I would absolutely be nervous about his productivity in year one after the ACL. I'd be looking at him the following year. But even then, then you're talking about another year older for a running back. So context is really important when looking at these guys' injuries.
And we've seen some young guys drop off too because of ACL injuries, like Marlon Mack, right? Didn't he tear his ACL? Or did he have an Achilles injury? I think it was ACL.
That was an Achilles.
It was an Achilles?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's an Achilles, guys,
still,
believe him. But we have not seen anybody come back from an Achilles yet, really.
Yeah. Cam Akers, maybe. We'll see.
Shit, Kevin Durant. But that's a whole different sport. But he did it.
He did do it.
Old as shit, too. But, yeah, I think we as a community, we got to try to find another middle ground, I think. There's been some sort of a reset with these injuries and how these doctors are doing and how these guys are recovering. Or not even a reset, but just like you said, we need to figure out the context and the nuance that goes along with these injuries to really be able to interpret how they're going to affect things going down the road. I think that's
just
the biggest thing.
Don't be set in stone with your mindset. Like, not everything is black and white, because people will have that mindset where, like, okay, somebody tore their ACL, I'm going to wait until year 2 of the recovery. That's not a terrible mindset, but it doesn't apply to all running backs or all wide receivers or all whatever the case is. Like I'm not going to repeat myself a bunch, but the same thing. Look at the age, look at the athleticism, and look at the type of injury that they incurred, that they had. And those things all factor into their ability to get back year 1.
And I also encourage people to take a look at injury histories, because it's all up there online. You can look up a player and look up their injury history and see everything that's happened, because people throw that injury prone label over people and don't even look and see where their injuries occurred at, because it's just, oh man, he tore his ACL once, injury prone. Not how it works. Now, if he tears the same knee over and over and over again, that's injury prone. If he sprains the same ankle over and over and over again, that's injury prone.
Repetitive to the same body parts leads to increase in frequency of injury of that body. That's what injury prone really is. But yeah, if you tear an ACL in your left knee, you sprain your right ankle, you tear your left rotator cuff, you're not injury prone. Those all just happen in the NFL. It's a violent sport.
Yeah, like maybe you got a weak constitution, maybe, but that's it. Maybe. Like best example, Christian McCaffrey, not injury prone, just a guy who's gotten injured before. Dalvin Cook, injury prone. It's the same shoulder over and over and over again.
Yep.
That's the difference, guys. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I hope you guys stuck with us. Maybe we'll have to put out some shorts or something with this ending of the conversation, because I do think this is really relevant for people to hear.
I agree. I think this is good. I think this is good stuff, because it's gonna help, especially like Eric said. If you guys are watching this right now at this point in the year, you're into fantasy. Hopefully, we gave you something that you could help out with, help change some perspectives, because we do need to change the narrative around injuries, or at least we need to be smarter about injuries, not really change the narrative about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think that's all I got. Do you have any other topics you want to get into before we head out of here?
Nah, I think that's all I got, because we'll be back again next week, guys. We're going to keep doing these every single week, just some casual stuff to keep talking. I don't know how these are going to do view-wise, but in terms of shorts and whatnot, we're going to get some great shorts out of this.
We're just having a good time, too.
Yeah. And
people that fuck with us, they're going to stick around. If not, it is what it is.
Yeah, bro. Throw this on in the background, listen to it. But if you guys had a good time listening to this, make sure you guys do all that great YouTube stuff. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you guys know when we drop more videos like this, or more of our analytical videos too, because those are still coming down the pipe. We aren't changing any of that whatsoever. Leave a comment down below for anything you may have agreed with us, disagreed with us, or even any topics you want us to cover. If there's anything that we missed that you want us to look at next week, let us know.
For sure.
We'll take a look into it and talk about it. And check out the links in the description below. You'll find some great deals over there at Dynasty Owner. You'll be able to find our partners, the Fantasy Football League winners, and our other partners, sponsors, Underdog Fantasy. You'll be able to find our other sponsor, Do Numbers, down there. You'll be able to get you guys 15% off of your orders. And you'll be able to find a link to our Discord. We've seen some people talking about our latest startup draft, saying that we shouldn't have did it with computers, and I understand that 100%. If that's the case, join the Discord, because then we can get more people involved, and you can be a part of our mock startup drafts. So
absolutely,
check out that link below, join the Discord. And before we go, Eric, you have anything else for the people?
I think you covered pretty much all of it. Just hit that like button too. That helps us out. We appreciate you. Lets us know that you like the content, so doing it, or don't hit the like button and leave a comment about why you didn't like the content so that we can hit you with the right stuff next time. All right?
Matter of fact, hit the dislike button too, man. Hit the dislike button. That's fine.
Didn't they get rid of that on YouTube? Isn't that gone?
They have it so you can't see what the number is under it anymore,
okay,
but
so
the
you can
button's still
still-
there. Yeah.
You can still hit it just in your hateful heart just for fun.
We'll be able to see it. We'll be able to see every dislike.
Well, shit.
But yeah,
That's fine. If you don't like it, hit it. Whatever.
hit either of those buttons, man. Have a great time. Have a blast.
Yeah.
But
But anyway, hope you guys stuck with us. Hope you guys enjoyed. This has been a lot of fun for me and Will, clearly, if you did stick with us. As always, we love you very, very much. Very special. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
peace.